Yes, we're back. Roshfooco watches and things. And today, first for the channel, a watch that I featured in a previous video, in my kind of generic vintage Timex video. Going to give it its own video today, just because I've had it on my wrist for the last few days. It's beautiful, it's running like a dream, and I thought perhaps it might be fairly interesting to look at it in a bit greater detail. So obviously this is a Timex vintage. I think, although I'm not 100% sure, I think this is from the Viscount range. But if anybody knows any difference, then stick the info down in the comments and I'll be glad to receive any of it, because I'm not 100% sure on that. Before we start, Timex is, as we all know, originally an American watch brand. If we go in kind of reverse order, Timex wristwatches were first produced post-war, 1950, I think, part of the US Time Company, which in turn was part of the Ingersoll Watch and Waterbury Clock Company, which dates back to 1854. So lots of kind of heritage and history attached to the brand, the lineage of the Timex brand. And interesting for somebody like me from the UK is that post Second World War, the Timex company did open and operate watch factories in the United Kingdom, probably famously the Dundee factory, which ran from the post-war years right up until the mid-1990s. So as I say, this is a Timex Viscount. You can see it's got water resistant on the dial rather than waterproof, so I think that puts it after 1970, 1971. It's not a perfect example, but it is beautiful. So what we're talking about here, we're talking about kind of 34-ish, just a hair under 34mm wide, 40mm lug end to lug end, and that vintage bowed case is one of my favourite features on kind of 1970s watches, really. It's 11.5 thick to the top of that exaggeratedly domed acrylic crystal, which again is a feature of kind of affordable vintage watches, and some expensive ones as well, but looks class. 19mm lug on this one, but I've squeezed on a 20mm NATO, no problem. It doesn't say it on the dial, but if you pop the back off, and perhaps I'll stick some pictures in if I can, that this is case Great Britain Timex inside the case back. It does have a, if we can take a look at it, it does have a stainless steel back, but of course the case itself is some sort of base, chromed base metal. You can see it's fairly badly pitted these days, which is a shame, but not necessarily surprising for the materials used in construction. Let's see if we can get into the dial, because here's a couple of identifier numbers. So you can see 46650. Hold on, let me get a pointer. 46650. I think the 4665 is the catalogue number, with the O being the strap option number. I'm not sure what the original strap was in here, but the interesting bit here is 3272. The last two, 72, that's the year of manufacture, so this is 1972 watch, and 32 is the movement calibre. So this is inside a calibre 32. Again, if I can, I'll try and put some pictures somewhere. The calibre 32 is a modified calibre 24, which is a kind of early 1960s, as far as I'm aware, early 1960s movement, modified with a date function and an automatic rotor oscillating weight. The movements were built in Great Britain. They have, or they had when manufactured, a 24-hour power reserve, and unlike lots of these cheap, although very hardy and robust, cheap Timex movements that were kind of essentially throwaway movements, the calibre 32 is serviceable. And again, I managed to find the original, or certainly a copy of the original service notes. I'll try and stick them down on the screen now to show you that the cleaning protocol, the service protocol for the calibre 32. Looking in a bit more detail at that beautiful watch face, whereas the case itself is fairly badly pitted and the chroming has come off. The face is in fantastic condition, so it's either been very lucky or it might have been redialed or replaced. Again, I'm not 100% sure. The handset, fairly basic, stick hands, although that minute hand does reach out to that wonderful contrasting white chapter ring. The loom, unfortunately now, I mean, there's a tiny little bit of loom. I don't think it's worth a loom shot, but let's have a go anyway. Oh, the tiniest amount of bit of loom. Well, it's from 1972. The second hand, although fantastic, that kind of dagger of orange on the second hand. Not sure of that authenticity, to be honest. Although it does look great and helps me pair it up with this orange NATO. Gives it a bit more fun, a bit more wearability. Certainly looking very good. The dial itself, kind of white wall, chapter ring, black face, applied indexes at 12, 3 and 9 with a framed date window at the 3 o'clock, although no quick set function on this, so who knows what date it's going to be running at. I just pick it up, wind it, set the time and let it go. Use my phone for the date. A really, really handsome vintage Timex. And there it is on my 7-inch wrist. Certainly got enough presence. Looks fantastic on the orange NATO. Jazzes it up a bit. Kind of breathes a bit of new life into this 40-something year old Timex. It looks great. Dimensions are not too small, 34 by 40. It looks great. This is Roshfooco watches and things alongside the vintage Timex Viscount 1972 GB edition. We're out.